In June 1815, Napoleon Bonaparte makes a bold gamble. He crosses the frontier near Charleroi, aiming to split the Allied armies of Duke of Wellington and Gebhard Leberecht von Blücher before they can unite. Marshal Michel Ney is sent north to engage Wellington at Quatre Bras. The Anglo-Allied army is still assembling, disorganized and vulnerable. Yet they hold, just barely. On the same day, Napoleon strikes Blücher at Ligny. The fighting is savage. Blücher himself is unhorsed during a desperate cavalry charge, nearly captured. But he escapes. His army retreats, but it is not destroyed. The Prussians are driven back, and Napoleon wins the field. Napoleon sends Marshal Emmanuel de Grouchy to pursue and pin the Prussians. Confident they are finished, he turns his full attention to Wellington. Wellington falls back to a ridge near Waterloo. There, he makes his stand. He anchors his defence on strong points. Hougoumont on the right, La Haye-Sainte at the centre, Papelotte on the left. His army numbers around 68,000 men, many inexperienced. Napoleon commands about 72,000, mostly seasoned veterans. Wellington's goal is simple: hold until the Prussians arrive. June 18th, 1815. The battle begins. Napoleon delays his attack until late morning. The ground is still wet from rain. Artillery movement is slow. At around 11:00 a.m., he launches a diversionary attack on Hougoumont, hoping to draw in Wellington's reserves. It fails. The defenders hold stubbornly, and the fight there consumes far more French troops than intended. By midday, French artillery opens fire. Cannonballs slam into the ridge, but many overshoot or lose impact as they roll down the slope. The British line holds firm. Napoleon then sends in his infantry. They advance into heavy musket fire and are suddenly struck by a fierce counterattack from British cavalry. The French columns break, but the British cavalry pushes too far. French cavalry counterattacks. The British are driven back with heavy losses. The battle intensifies. Later in the afternoon, Ney misreads the situation. Believing the enemy is retreating, he launches massive cavalry charges. But Wellington's army is ready. The infantry forms defensive squares, solid walls of bayonets. Without infantry or artillery support, Ney's cavalry charges collapse. Wave after wave is repelled with devastating losses. The turning point. As the battle drags on, the distant sound of guns grows louder. Blücher is coming. Prussian forces begin arriving on Napoleon's right flank, attacking the village of Plancenoit. Napoleon diverts precious reserves to hold them, and for a time, the French succeed. Meanwhile, in the centre, the French capture La Haye-Sainte. Artillery is brought forward, blasting Wellington's line at close range. The situation becomes critical. Napoleon's final gamble. With the Prussians closing in and his army stretched thin, Napoleon commits his last reserve, the Imperial Guard. The elite veterans advance toward the British centre. They exchange volleys at close range. Then Wellington gives the order. The British rise from behind the ridge, fix bayonets, and charge. For the first time in history, the Imperial Guard breaks, collapse. The sight sends shockwaves through the French army. The Guard is retreating. Panic spreads. The line collapses. At the same time, Prussian forces retake Plancenoit, sealing the French fate. Only the old Guard remains, forming a last stand as the rest of the army flees. Napoleon's army disintegrates. Conclusion. The Battle of Waterloo is over. Napoleon is defeated. The cost is staggering. Over 50,000 men killed or wounded on both sides. But the result is decisive. Napoleon's final gamble has failed. His empire collapses, and he is soon exiled for the last time. Europe enters a new era, and the legend of Waterloo is born.